The golden light of Aurelius spilled across white tablecloths like honey. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, casting prismatic shadows over Manhattan's elite. Waiters moved like ghosts between tables, their footsteps silent on marble floors. A single appetizer here cost more than most people spent on groceries in a week. This was where fortunes were discussed over foie gras, where billion-dollar deals were sealed with a handshake and a glass of wine that cost more than a car payment. At a corner table, partially hidden by a towering floral arrangement, sat Vivian Ashford, 31 years old, founder and CEO of Ashford Capital. Forbes had called her the Ice Queen of Wall Street, and she had framed the article. Not because she was proud of the nickname, but because it reminded her of what she had built, what she had survived. Her designer dress cost $4,000, her watch $12,000, her heels hand-stitched Italian leather, another $2,000. Every piece carefully selected to project power, control, invincibility. Across from her sat Bennett, her 6-year-old son. He stared at the leather-bound menu filled with French words he could not read. His small shoulders hunched forward. His food sat untouched, the lobster growing cold, the vegetables wilting. He had not looked at his mother in 15 minutes, because Vivian had been on her phone the entire time. Emails, quarterly projections, a message from her assistant about tomorrow's board meeting. The usual symphony of demands that never stopped, never quieted, never gave her a moment's peace. She glanced up. "Bennett, sit up straight." He obeyed, mechanically, like a puppet whose strings had been pulled. "Why aren't you eating?" "I'm not hungry." "You need to eat. This is a learning experience. Proper restaurant etiquette will serve you well when you're older." Bennett pushed a piece of lobster across his plate, said nothing. At the next table, conspicuously out of place among the silk and diamonds, sat a man in a simple button-down shirt. The fabric was clean but worn at the elbows. His jeans had seen better days. He looked like he had wandered in from another world entirely. Callum Wren was 33 years old, construction foreman, single father, and completely unaware that he did not belong here. Or perhaps he simply did not care. With him sat his daughter Juniper, 5 years old, wild curly hair barely contained by a purple headband, tomato sauce on her chin. A smile so wide it seemed to split her face in half. They were sharing a single pasta dish, the cheapest thing on the menu, but they were laughing. Callum deepened his voice dramatically. And then the meatball of doom looked down at the spaghetti kingdom and said, he paused for effect. Juniper leaned forward, eyes wide. "I will smoosh all the noodles." Juniper dissolved into giggles. The sound was loud, unrestrained. Several nearby diners glanced over with expressions of mild disapproval. Callum did not notice, or if he did not care. His entire world had narrowed to the little girl across from him. Nothing else existed. Bennett watched them, his eyes fixed on that table with such raw, desperate longing that it hurt to witness. He watched the father wipe sauce from his daughter's face with a napkin. Watched her lean against him like he was the safest place in the world. Watched them laugh about nothing at all. Something shifted in the boy's chest, something he did not have words for. "Mom," Vivian looked up from her phone. "What is it, Bennett?" "I want to be like that girl." Vivian frowned, glancing at the other table, at the mess, the noise, the complete lack of decorum. "Like what?" Bennett's voice came out as barely a whisper. "Happy. She looks happy." The words hit Vivian like a physical blow. She stared at her son, really looked at him for the first time in months. She saw the hollow eyes, the tension in his small body, the way he seemed to shrink into himself, trying to disappear. Then she looked at the girl at the other table, sauce-stained, giggling, leaning into her father's side like he was her whole universe. When had she last seen Bennett look at her that way? When had she last heard him laugh like that little girl was laughing now? She could not remember. The realization crashed over her like ice water. She had given him everything money could buy. The best schools, the finest clothes, a penthouse apartment with views of Central Park. Nannies who spoke 3 languages, tutors who had PhDs, but she had not given him herself. Callum and Juniper stood to leave. The little girl clutched her father's hand, still chattering about the meatball of doom and what adventures it might have next. Bennett moved before Vivian could stop him. He slipped from his chair and ran across the restaurant, weaving between tables, ignoring the startled looks of other diners. He reached Callum just as the man was heading for the exit and grabbed the hem of his jacket. "Bennett!" Vivian hurried after him, heels clicking against marble. $400 worth of dinner sat abandoned on their table. She did not care. "Bennett, you can't just—" Callum turned, looked down at the small boy clinging to his jacket. Then he did something that stopped Vivian in her tracks. He knelt, got down to Bennett's level, met his eyes. His voice was warm, unhurried, patient in a way that Vivian had never learned to be. "Hey, buddy, no worries. I'm Callum. This is my daughter, Juniper. What's your name?" "Bennett." "That's a great name. Were you trying to tell us something?" Bennett glanced back at his mother, then at Callum, then at the floor. "I liked watching you eat dinner," he said quietly. "You looked happy." "We never look like that." Vivian felt something crack inside her chest. It was the most honest thing anyone had said to her in years, and it had come from her 6-year-old son. Juniper peeked out from behind her father, curiosity overcoming shyness. "Do you want to be friends?" "I don't have a lot of friends because we moved, and also I talk too much." "That's what Daddy says. But he says it's a good thing because quiet people are boring." "Do you like dinosaurs?" "I like dinosaurs, especially the ones with the long necks because they can reach all the best leaves." Bennett nodded, the most enthusiasm Vivian had seen from him in months. Callum straightened, looked at Vivian. His eyes held no judgment, no pity, just warmth. "There's a park across the street," he said. "We were heading there before going home. You're welcome to join us. No pressure." Every instinct told Vivian to decline. She had emails to answer, a conference call with Tokyo in 45 minutes, reports to review for tomorrow's board meeting. Her schedule was calculated down to 15-minute increments. There was no room for spontaneity, no space for parks. But Bennett was looking at her with desperate hope, like she held his entire happiness in her hands, like this moment, this decision, might be the most important one she ever made. "Okay," she heard herself say, "for a little while." Bennett's face transformed. A smile broke across his features like sunrise after a long, dark night. It was the most genuine expression she had seen from him in months, maybe years. They walked to Central Park as an odd group, Billionaire in designer heels picking her way carefully across grass. Construction worker in worn jeans, comfortable in his own skin. 2 children who had met 5 minutes ago, but were already holding hands, already chattering like old friends reunited. The kids ran to the swings. Bennett pushed Juniper. She pushed him back. Their laughter echoed across the playground, mixing with the distant sounds of traffic and the rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. Vivian and Callum found a bench. "I'm Vivian Ashford," she said. "I'm in finance." "I know who you are." Callum smiled. "Saw your face on a magazine at my dentist's office." Vivian tensed. This was usually where people either wanted something from her or revealed their resentment. "The rich get richer. Must be nice. I work twice as hard for a fraction of what you have." But Callum just nodded. "Articles said you funded affordable housing in the Bronx. 3 buildings. Kept the rent below market rate so families wouldn't get pushed out. That's real. That helps real people in my neighborhood." It was possibly the nicest thing anyone had said to her in years, because it was about impact, not wealth. "What about you?" she asked. "Callum Wren, construction foreman. I build things, nothing fancy." "That sounds honest." "It pays the bills." "Mostly." On the playground, Bennett was laughing, actually laughing. The sound drifted across the evening air, and Vivian felt tears prick at her eyes. When had she last heard that sound? Not in months, maybe not in years. 2 hours passed without her noticing. 2 hours without checking her phone, without thinking about quarterly projections or board meetings or the endless machinery of her empire. 2 hours of just being. When it was time to leave, Juniper hugged Bennett goodbye, her small arms wrapped around him like they had known each other forever. "You know what, Bennett?" The little girl's voice was serious, solemn, far too wise for her 5 years. "I think our hearts were already friends. They were just waiting for our bodies to catch up." Callum and Vivian exchanged a look, stunned, moved. Sometimes children see what adults spend entire lifetimes missing. That night after Bennett was asleep, Vivian sat on her balcony overlooking the city, 40 floors up. The lights of Manhattan spread out before her like a blanket of stars. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hi, this is Callum. Got your number from the park sign-in sheet. Hope that's not creepy. Just wanted to say thanks for tonight. Juniper won't stop talking about Bennett." Vivian smiled. Actually smiled. They texted for an hour about parenting, about nothing important, about everything that mattered. When she finally went to bed, she felt something unfamiliar settling in her chest. Lightness, like maybe she was not carrying everything alone anymore. But across the city, in a glass tower that scraped the sky, Genevieve Thornton studied photographs on her tablet. Vivian leaving the restaurant, walking through the park, sitting on a bench with a man in worn jeans while children played nearby. Genevieve was 58 years old. Old money, old power. She had been on Ashford Capital's board for 12 years, watching, waiting, looking for the moment when the Ice Queen would show weakness. She dialed a number. "I need everything you can find on a Callum Wren. Construction worker, Brooklyn." A pause. "It seems our CEO has developed a distraction." 3 weeks passed. A routine developed. Saturday afternoons at Central Park. Sunday morning coffee while the kids drew pictures together at a small cafe in Brooklyn. Occasional weeknight dinners at Callum's apartment. Nothing fancy, usually pizza or takeout, eaten on mismatched plates. Bennett transformed. He started talking more, asking questions, wanting to try things, soccer, painting, cooking. "Mom, can I take art classes?" "Of course, I'll find the best instructor in the city." "Can it be with Juniper? She knows a place. It's not expensive, but the teacher's really nice, and they use real paint, not the fake stuff, and they let you get messy." Vivian hesitated. Her instinct was to find the most exclusive program, the most prestigious, the one that would look best on applications to the right schools. But Bennett's eyes were hopeful, bright, alive in a way she had forgotten they could be. "Yes," she said, "we can do that." He threw his arms around her, squeezed tight. "Thanks, Mom. You're the best." Those words, he had never said them before. Not once in 6 years. Vivian held him close, blinked back tears, wondered how she had missed so much, wondered if it was too late to find her way back. Callum's apartment was small, 2 bedrooms, mismatched furniture that had clearly been acquired from different decades, toys scattered across every surface, crayon drawings covering the refrigerator door like a gallery of 5-year-old masterpieces. It should have felt cramped, chaotic, insufficient. Instead, it felt warm. It felt like a home. Unlike Vivian's penthouse, which looked like a magazine spread and felt like a museum, Callum made grilled cheese sandwiches while Juniper gave Bennett the grand tour. This is my room, and this is Professor Hopsalot's reading corner. He's very particular about good lighting. And this is where Daddy reads me stories every night. He does all the voices, even the girl ones, even the princess ones. At lunch, Bennett ate everything on his plate. Vivian stared. You never eat like that at home. The food is different here. It's just grilled cheese. Bennett shrugged, looked at Callum with something like wonder. Mr. Callum made it with love. You can taste that. Vivian looked at this man, this construction foreman who lived paycheck to paycheck, who had given up nothing because he had never had much to begin with, who somehow possessed everything she had been chasing with all her billions. Presence, connection, joy. She had built an empire. He had built a home. She was not sure anymore which achievement mattered more. The crisis came on a Tuesday. Vivian stood at the head of a conference table, presenting quarterly results to a room full of investors. Billions of dollars hung in the balance. The future of 3 major acquisitions, her reputation, her legacy. Her assistant appeared in the doorway, face pale, voice trembling. I'm sorry to interrupt, Miss Ashford. Bennett's school called. He has a high fever. He's asking for you. Every eye in the room turned to her. Genevieve Thornton spoke first, her voice smooth, reasonable, poisonous. I'm sure the nanny can handle it. We have stakeholders waiting. Vivian looked at the presentation on the screen, at the numbers, at the projections, at everything she had spent her life building. Then she thought about her son, small, feverish, asking for his mother. My son is sick, she said. He asked for me. She gathered her things. Meeting adjourned. She walked out. Career be damned. Her son needed her. Behind her, she heard Genevieve's voice, low and satisfied. Note this for the record. In the car, Vivian's hands shook on the steering wheel. She called Callum without thinking. Bennett's sick. High fever. The school called. I don't know what to do. I always had nannies handle. Hey. His voice was calm, steady, an anchor in her storm. Breathe. Which school? She told him. I'll meet you there. It's going to be okay. At the school, Bennett was small and miserable in the nurse's office. His forehead burned. His eyes were glassy. But when he saw Vivian, he reached for her. Mommy. He had not called her that in 2 years. Callum arrived minutes later, checked Bennett's forehead with the back of his hand, spoke soothingly. Hey, champ, you're going to be fine. Just a bug. We'll get you home, get you some soup, and you'll be back to normal in no time. The doctor confirmed. Just a virus. Rest and fluids. Nothing serious. But that night, after Bennett finally fell asleep, Vivian broke down. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help my own child. What kind of mother doesn't know how to comfort her sick son? Callum sat beside her on the expensive couch that no one ever used. Now you know. And you showed up. That's what matters. Why do you keep doing this? Showing up for us? Because I care about you. Both of you. Why? I'm a disaster. I don't know how to be a mother. I don't know how to be anything except successful. That's not what I see. What do you see? He looked at her. Really looked. Past the designer clothes and the carefully constructed armor. Someone learning, someone trying, someone worth showing up for. She kissed him first. Or maybe he kissed her. Later, neither would remember who moved first. It did not matter. What mattered was the feeling of connection, of being seen, of not being alone. I'm falling in love with you, Vivian whispered, and it terrifies me, because everyone I've ever loved has left. Callum was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. My ex-wife walked out 3 years ago, left Juniper alone in her crib. I came home from work and she was just gone. No warning, no explanation, just a note on the kitchen counter. I swore I'd never let anyone in again. And now? Now I'm falling in love with a woman who runs a billion-dollar company and doesn't know how to make grilled cheese. He smiled, sad and hopeful all at once. And I'm terrified too, but I'm more scared of letting fear make my decisions. Across the city, a woman stepped off a plane at JFK. Marin Kessler, 32 years old, blonde hair perfectly styled, designer clothes, a wedding ring that cost more than Callum made in a year. She scrolled through photos on her phone, photos of Callum and Juniper at the park, with another woman, with another child. Her jaw tightened. Well, she murmured, this complicates things. The knock came on a Saturday morning. Callum opened the door of his apartment, expecting the mailman, maybe a neighbor. Instead, he found his past standing in the hallway. Marin looked exactly as she had 3 years ago. Beautiful, put together, the kind of woman who turned heads and knew it. Hello, Callum. You look good. His voice went flat, cold. What are you doing here? I came to see my daughter. Your daughter? You walked out on her 3 years ago. She was 2 years old. You left her alone in her crib. I know. Marin's eyes glistened, perfectly timed tears. I was young, overwhelmed. I made a terrible mistake. But I've changed. I've gotten help. I'm married now, to a wonderful man. We want to be part of Juniper's life. No, you can't keep her from me, Callum. I'm her mother. You're the woman who gave birth to her. That's biology. It's not the same thing. Juniper appeared behind him, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She looked at Marin with confusion. Daddy, who's that lady? Marin's face crumpled. Baby, it's me. It's Mommy. Juniper pressed closer to Callum's leg. I don't have a mommy. I just have Daddy. The words hung in the air. Simple, devastating, true. Marin's expression shifted. The tears vanished. Something harder took their place. This isn't over, Callum. I have resources now. Lawyers. If you won't let me see her willingly, I'll get a court order. She turned and walked away. Her heels clicked against the hallway floor like a countdown. The attacks came from 2 directions at once. At Ashford Capitol, Genevieve Thornton convened an emergency board meeting. The subject, leadership concerns. She presented photographs. Vivian at Parks, at a small Brooklyn apartment, with a man who made $40,000 a year, with children who were not hers. Our CEO has become distracted, Genevieve said smoothly. She walked out of a major investor presentation. She's spending time with unsuitable people. The market is watching. Our shareholders are concerned. At the same time, Marin filed for custody of Juniper. Her lawyers were expensive, aggressive. The claim, Callum was an unfit parent, unstable income, dangerous profession, chaotic home environment. She presented photographs that made his modest apartment look neglected. That made his life look insufficient. The 2 attacks were coordinated. Old money circles overlapped. Genevieve and Marin had found each other, had recognized a shared opportunity, destroy what Vivian and Callum were building, destroy it before it could become something real. The darkest moment came on a Wednesday evening. Vivian received an ultimatum from the board. Choose the company or the relationship. Callum received notice that a family court judge had granted Marin temporary visitation rights, pending a full hearing. They sat together in Vivian's penthouse. The city lights glittered below them, indifferent to their pain. I'm not letting them do this, Vivian said. Her voice was steel. Not to you, not to Juniper. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is. She took his hand, held tight. You're my family now, both of you, and I will burn down anyone who tries to hurt my family. It was the first time she had used that word, family. She hired investigators, the best in the city, dug into Marin's life with surgical precision. What she found confirmed her suspicions. Marin could not have children. Her new husband, Preston, wanted them desperately. Rather than adopt a stranger, Marin had decided to reclaim the daughter she had abandoned. Not because she wanted Juniper, but because she wanted the appearance of Juniper, a prop for her new life, evidence that she was a devoted mother. Better yet, Marin's social media. Hundreds of posts over 3 years, trips to Paris, galas in the Hamptons, charity events and yacht parties, not a single mention of a daughter, not one photo, not one reference, while simultaneously claiming she had never stopped thinking about Juniper. The custody hearing took place on a gray Thursday morning. Family court, fluorescent lights, plastic chairs, a world away from crystal chandeliers and white tablecloths. Marin sat with her expensive lawyer, her husband Preston beside her, supportive and respectable, the image of a reformed mother who had found her way back. Callum's lawyer presented the evidence. 3 years of social media silence, photos of Marin at parties on Juniper's birthdays, testimony from child psychologists about the damage of forcing a child to accept an absent parent. Then, a surprise witness. Juniper's kindergarten teacher took the stand. Juniper Wren is one of the happiest, most well-adjusted children I have ever taught. Her father is at every event, every parent-teacher conference, every school play. He knows her friends. He knows her fears. He knows that she's afraid of thunderstorms and loves dinosaurs and thinks her stuffed rabbit can read. The teacher paused, looked directly at Marin. She has never once mentioned a mother. Marin's composure cracked. She's my daughter. The judge held up her hand. Ms. Kessler, you abandoned your daughter for 3 years, without contact, without support, without a single birthday card. And now you want custody because it's convenient for your new lifestyle? She turned to Callum. Mr. Wren, I'm not only denying this petition, I'm recommending that any future contact be entirely at your discretion. Your daughter is extraordinarily fortunate to have a father like you. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Marin turned on Vivian. You think you've won? You think this is over? You're a cold, heartless... I'm the person who protects the people I love, Vivian said quietly. You should try it sometime. She turned and walked away, Callum's hand in hers, heading toward the light at the end of the corridor. Behind them, Marin stood alone. Her husband was already on his phone, already calculating the exit strategy from a wife who had become a liability. Some people never learn that love cannot be bought, cannot be performed, cannot be summoned when convenient and discarded when inconvenient. Love is presence. Love is showing up. Love is choosing someone over and over, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. That same evening, Vivian walked into the Ashford Capital boardroom. Genevieve looked smug, certain of victory. The other board members sat in uncomfortable silence, unwilling to meet Vivian's eyes. So, have you made your decision? Yes. Vivian looked around the room, at faces she had worked alongside for years, at people she had made wealthy beyond their dreams. I built this company from nothing. I've generated returns that made every person in this room rich. And I'm not going to apologize for having a personal life. She turned to Genevieve. I've also discovered some irregularities in our accounting, specifically unauthorized payments to a consulting firm that doesn't appear to exist. The same firm that happens to share an address with your son-in-law's real estate office? The room went silent. Board members shifted in their seats. Several refused to meet Genevieve's eyes. That's preposterous, Genevieve sputtered. You have no proof. I have bank records, wire transfers, emails. Vivian's voice was calm, surgical. You've been siphoning money for 6 years, Genevieve. $2 million. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? This is a witch hunt. You're deflecting from your own failures, Security is waiting outside to escort you from the building. The FBI has been notified. Two officers appeared in the doorway. Genevieve's face crumbled, the mask of old money superiority finally shattering. And Genevieve? Vivian smiled. Cold. Precise. The Ice Queen earning her name one final time. The next time you try to destroy someone's life, make sure yours is spotless first. Genevieve was led out in handcuffs, past the board members she had schemed with for years, past the assistants she had belittled and dismissed. Everyone watched. No one helped. Some falls are earned. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after the trial. 2 weeks after Genevieve's disgrace, Callum took Vivian to the park where they had first let the children play together. Same bench, same swings creaking in the evening breeze, same trees rustling overhead, their leaves touched with gold from the setting sun. I have something for you, he said. He pulled out a small box, not velvet, not expensive, just a simple wooden box that looked handmade, with tiny flowers carved into the lid. Juniper helped me pick it out. She said it had to be something real, not fancy. She was very specific about that. Inside was a ring, simple, silver, a small diamond that caught the fading light like a captured star. I know I can't give you what you already have, Callum said. I can't compete with penthouses and portfolios, but I can give you this. He took her hand. I can give you presents. I can give you showing up every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Vivian's eyes blurred with tears. Vivian Ashford, will you let me be your family? Will you let us build something together? Not an empire, just a home. She kissed him, pulled back, laughed through her tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. From behind a nearby tree, two small faces peeked out. Juniper and Bennett, absolutely terrible at hiding, burst into cheers. She said yes, Professor Hopsalot. She said yes. They ran over and crashed into the adults, a tangle of small arms and big emotions. Vivian held them all. Callum, Bennett, Juniper, her family. She had built an empire worth billions. This was worth more. 6 months later, Vivian's penthouse had transformed. Toys scattered across the living room floor. Crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator. A worn couch that had replaced the designer original because Callum said the old one was too fancy to actually sit on. It looked like chaos. It looked like home. Saturday morning, Callum in the kitchen making grilled cheese. Bennett and Juniper at the table, heads bent together over a drawing. Vivian walked in, coffee in hand, looked over their shoulders. 4 stick figures holding hands. 2 tall, 2 small. Above them, in wobbly 5-year-old handwriting, our family. What's this? She asked. It's us, Juniper said matter-of-factly. Our family. Bennett and me decided. We're brother and sister now. Professor Hopsalot approved and everything. Bennett looked up, his eyes clear, happy, so different from the hollow, withdrawn child she had taken to that restaurant 6 months ago. Is that okay, Mom? Can we be a family? Vivian's throat tightened. Tears blurred her vision. I think we already are, sweetheart. Later that morning, Juniper tugged on Vivian's sleeve, her small face serious. Can I tell you something? Of course, honey. I asked for a mom for Christmas every year, but I stopped because Daddy looked sad when I did. I didn't think she would actually come. She wrapped her arms around Vivian's waist, held tight. I'm glad your heart found us. She paused, looked up with those wide, trusting eyes. Is it okay if I call you Mom now? Bennett does, and Professor Hopsalot says it's only fair. Vivian knelt down, cupped Juniper's face in her hands. I would love nothing more. Okay, Juniper smiled, that sunshine smile. I love you, Mom. 3 words. The first time she had ever said them to a mother. I love you too, sweetheart, So much. Evening, same restaurant where it all began, same table, different everything. Vivian had stepped back from CEO to chairman, hired a strong COO. Now she worked reasonable hours, came home for dinner, knew the names of her son's friends and his fears and his dreams. Tonight they were celebrating. The adoption had been finalized that morning. Callum had officially become Bennett's father. Vivian had officially become Juniper's mother. 4 people, 1 family, built not from blood but from choice. The waiter approached. "May I take your order?" Bennett looked at the leather-bound menu, then at Juniper. They shared a grin. "Do you have grilled cheese?" The waiter blinked. "This is a Michelin-starred restaurant, young man. We don't. We'll have 4 orders of your finest pasta," Callum said, winking at the kids. "The cheap one." Laughter, real laughter. The kind that fills a room and spills into the spaces between heartbeats. Later, after the pasta, after the stories, after Juniper fell asleep against Callum's shoulder and had to be carried to the car, Bennett tugged on Vivian's sleeve, just like he had 6 months ago, the night everything changed. "Mom?" "Yes, sweetheart. Remember when I said I wanted to be like Juniper? Happy?" "I remember." Bennett smiled, that real smile, the one she had forgotten existed until Callum helped her find it again. "I'm happy now." He paused, looked at her with eyes far too wise for 6 years old. "And Mom, you look happy too. Finally." Vivian pulled him close, tears streaming down her face. She did not try to hide them, did not try to be strong, just let herself feel. Over Bennett's head, she caught Callum's eye. He was holding Juniper, her small head resting on his shoulder, one hand clutching Professor Hopsalot. His eyes were wet too. No words needed. They had found each other. 2 single parents, 2 broken hearts, 2 children who had decided they were siblings. 1 family, built from courage, built from showing up, built from choosing each other over and over, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Outside the restaurant, the city hummed its eternal song. Taxis and streetlights and a million stories unfolding in a million windows. Vivian looked up at the sky, at the few stars visible through the light pollution, at the vast universe that had somehow conspired to bring a construction worker and a billionaire together in a 5-star restaurant on an ordinary Tuesday evening. She thought about the path that had led her here, a son's whispered words, a decision to follow instead of control, a willingness to be changed. Callum shifted Juniper in his arms, reached out to take Vivian's hand. Bennett walked between them, holding both their hands, swinging slightly with each step. A family. Her family. Sometimes the heart knows before the mind catches up. Sometimes following your heart out of a restaurant leads exactly where you need to go. Home,